Rail companies have been at loggerheads for years, fighting against what workers describe as poor conditions and grueling schedules made worse by an onslaught of labor cuts. Here is how one Ohio rail worker described his day-to-day almost a year ago. He said, "We feel stabbed in the back, completely demoralized. Fatigue is a chronic issue with almost everyone I know and work with. We have no chance to even catch our breath." Joining me now is the president of the Transportation Trades Department of the AFL-CIO, Regan. Greg, thanks for being here with us. I want to start with what I referenced up top, and that is what this veteran railroader described as, or called precision scheduled railroading, and said that was the real problem here. What is that?
It's really a business operating model that's designed to try to maximize the profits of the railroad systems. That's pretty much all it is. It's not precise and it's not necessarily scheduled. What we've seen from a tangible outcome from PSR is that we've seen 30% of the workforce cut over the last 8 years. And during that time, it's no surprise that we've seen record profits in the industry.
So record profits and not hiring new employees or paying new employees more. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, just drastic cuts across all the crafts and classes in the railroad industry. And the result of it at the end of the day is that we have people who are essentially on call 24/7 to do their jobs. They do not have an opportunity to catch their breath. That's why sick leave became such an important issue during the bargaining unit, is because people did not have the opportunity to take their allotted leave because they're expected to be on call all the time.
So when you add more cars to a train, this train had, I think, 150 cars in it. Does that affect the safety of how it operates? Does it affect its ability to stay on the tracks?
Yeah, it certainly, look, if you add more and more cars to these trains, you're introducing more and more points of potential failure. And that's why it's really alarming that the railroad industry actually wants to cut back the number of people operating on a train from 2, as is the current standard, to 1. Thankfully, the administration is moving to require 2-person trains, but it just shows you where the priorities are from the railroads right now.
I'm sorry, hold on. Are you saying that as of now, a train with 150 cars and that is carrying hazardous material, vinyl chloride, whatever, as a standard, only has 2 people operating it, just 2 for that entire train?
Yeah, that's correct. 1 conductor, 1 engineer. This train had 3 people on it because there was a trainee, but the standard is 2 people across the board.
And they want to cut it down to 1?
Yes.
All right. So I'm wondering, what is the solution here? Because you've seen, I'm sure, Senator Rubio and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg are getting into it on Twitter over who's to blame for this, and I'll just put their tweets up on the screen. Rubio saying to Secretary Pete that he was MIA on the derailment, then he lies to the media claiming his 2021 letter calling for more track inspections was a letter calling for deregulation. He says he's incompetent. Buttigieg says the facts don't lie. The 2021 letter you signed was obviously drafted by railroad industry lobbyists. It supports waivers that would reduce visual track inspections. Now, will you help us toughen rail safety, accountability, and fines or not? So can you explain what these 2 men are talking about? What letter?
Yeah, there was a letter in 2021 signed by Rubio and I think 21 of his other colleagues, Republican colleagues, asking the Federal Railroad Administration to issue a waiver from a safety requirement of in-person track inspections. We were vehemently opposed to these waivers, but it is the railroad's tendency these days to try to get individual waivers from safety inspections, whether it be on the track or the cars. And I got to be honest, I think the secretary is right here. The letter reads exactly like the filing that the railroads have centered into the Federal Railroad Administration.
So is the solution here more federal regulations?
I think we need to enforce the regulations we have in place. We need to stop playing defense on all these waiver requests that the railroads are putting in. I think we should be looking at things like minimum inspection times. I think that the railroad should be participating in the confidential close call reporting system that is in place, but none of the railroads are actually participating in. I think there are a lot of opportunities in addition to crew size and really hiring more people to make the entire system safer. And it's not about it. You know, we may not know for a little while what exactly happened on this derailment, but my members have been saying for years now that the safety culture seems to have degraded at the same time that these profit numbers are coming in. And we need to take a holistic look, whether it be legislators, regulators, railroads, and unions, about how do we fix this and make the system safer.
Politics is very much at play now. A lot of politicians finger pointing. We have former President Donald Trump is going to be there today, or is there today. I had the mayor of East Palestine on this show just a couple days ago, and I asked him if he wanted to see President Biden take a tour. I'll play you what he told me, and then I'll play you what he has since told another reporter. Do you want to see the president there? Do you want to see FEMA send money?
I think if the president came, it would actually just it would be more harm than good. There's a lot of security details that need to be around him, and ambulances following him and stuff. And I think it would just be a burden on our residents, honestly. If he would like to come, I mean, I'm not going to stop him.
The president being in Ukraine today, did that surprise you?
Absolutely. That was the biggest slap in the face. That tells you right now he doesn't care about us. So
agreed.
He can send every agency he wants to, but I found that out this morning in one of the briefings that he was in the Ukraine giving millions of dollars away to people over there, not to us, and I'm furious.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that I spoke to him on the same day that we knew the president was in Ukraine. But if you're one of the residents of East Palestine and you're hearing this finger pointing, hearing your mayor say the president's slapping us in the face, who should you really be looking to right now to one, to solve the issue, and two, to blame for this derailment? Who's the problem?
Well, I think the real problem is with the railroad itself. I mean, let's be clear. It was not the secretary. It wasn't the administration who caused this derailment. Something went wrong with the operations of the railroad, and we'll find out what that is. But I really do find the political opportunism to be appalling in this regard, whether it be from the former president or from Senator Rubio. These are not new issues, the ones that we've been raising about safety. We have been screaming from the mountaintops for years about some of the problems we've seen here. And all of a sudden, people are paying attention to it, and it's convenient because, now they have a way to make a hit on one of their political opponents.
I talked to the mayor on Friday, and Biden did not get to Ukraine until Monday. My bad. It's hard to keep some of these days straight. And what happened when? Greg, Regan, thank you very much for coming on and being pretty clear about what's the problem here and what the solutions are. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And joining me now is East Palestine resident Ayla Antoniazzi. Ayla, thank you so much